suggested talking points, where I'm supposed to talk to all of you about how great our record is on business, all the wonderful things we've done, some of the things that Paul mentioned, and all the stuff that you already know. The reason you already know it is because you all helped to craft the agenda. The leaders of the business community in this state met with me in 2009 when I was a candidate for governor, and they said to me, here are a list of things that would be great if you could do them. We've been dying here for 8 years under these Democrat administrations that don't listen to us and don't listen to how we need an atmosphere that helps us to create jobs. And that's why it should be no shock that in the 9 years before I became governor, New Jersey created 0 net private sector jobs. 0. You all told me that. You were all struggling, running in quicksand. Quicksand that was created and spread by the government in Trenton. So you know the stuff I've done. You benefited from it, and this morning is not a time for me to come here and take a victory lap about the things we've already accomplished. You know them, you appreciate them, and we don't need to go through those this morning. So thank you, staff, for the suggested talking points. Here's what we need to talk about this morning. The fact that we've created now over 275,000 new private sector jobs in the last 6.5 years in New Jersey. The fact that our unemployment rate is below 5% and it was at 10% when we came into office is under assault. Now see, this happens, and it's happened historically in New Jersey, and I'm going to talk to you about that. So that you understand that the nature of the threat I'm discussing is not just a Republican conservative governor in his last 18 months feeling melancholy. This has happened before in New Jersey repeatedly, and if you don't stand up and fight, it is about to happen again. And we're already starting to see the signs. What am I talking about? Tom Kean was governor from 1981 to 1989. Lower taxes, less regulation, some of the greatest job growth in the history of our state. He was succeeded by Jim Florio. Huge tax increases, huge public sector employment increases, huge public sector benefit increases, and a staggering, deflated economy in New Jersey that led to job loss and the size of government increasing radically in our state. And you paid for it. So the people of New Jersey rose up after one term of Jim Florio and elected Christie. And as they did with Tom Kean, they re-elected her. Why? She lowered taxes, she lowered spending, she made government smaller, she made regulation less intrusive, and what happened? Again, a sustained period of job growth in the state of New Jersey. And then after her 2 terms, we turned to Jim McGreevey. And what happened? Higher taxes, 10,000 new employees added to the state payroll. 10,000 new employees. Each one of whom, not only were you paying for when they worked, but you're still paying for many of them today with lifetime pensions and health benefits. More regulation, not only increasing existing taxes, but inventing new ones. As Jim Florio was known for the toilet paper tax, Jim McGreevey became known for the tire tax and the realty transfer fee. One of the most perverse inventions in the history of taxation. If you haven't sold a house recently, maybe you don't know it, but I am your partner. Thank you. I pay none of your mortgage, I pay none of your property taxes, I pay nothing for your home improvements. I pay nothing for the new furnace you put in the basement. I pay nothing for the new hot water heater. But when you sell your house, I'm at the closing. Yes, I am. Look at the RESPA. I'm at the closing. And I get a piece of the action. Only New Jersey Democrats could have the guts to tell their citizens that somehow, based upon what we do in Trenton, we're owed a piece of your equity in your personal home that you have invested in and maintained for the period of time that you live there. So what happened after that? Well, Governor McGreevey had to leave office. So we got the continuation of Democratic policies through John Corzine. More increased taxes, more increased regulation, and 250,000 jobs lost. What happened then? New Jersey's got angry, they raised up, they elected me in 2009 and re-elected me in 2013 by the largest margin any governor had been re-elected with since 1985, nearly 30 years. Why? Lower taxes, lower spending, smaller government, 10,000 fewer employees than the day I came into office. Today, on the state payroll. What do you see happening now? What we see happening now is already the Democrats, 18 months away from the trough, are signaling what they will do if they get power back. They announced with great fanfare on Friday that they want to increase the gas tax. Now, because I, with you, have been pounding for years about the fact that we need tax fairness, they've included some tax reductions in there as well. Not nearly enough, for my taste. And that's a discussion I'm sure we'll be having in Trenton over the course of the next 3 weeks. But it gives you an indication. Look at the size of the increase they want. To start with, we have a 14.5-cent a gallon gas tax, one of the lowest in the nation. They are advocating for a 23-cent increase, a more than doubling of the gas tax. And there's more. If you look into the bill, there's more tax increases in there as well that will affect some of the businesses sitting here. I've said all along, I will not sign a gas tax increase unless it represents tax fairness for the people of New Jersey. They've got work to do. Now, in the next 3 weeks, they're considering something that's going to be even more destructive, if you can imagine, than that. First of all, we must start with the premise that is indisputable at this point, that the teachers union owns the Democratic Party in New Jersey. Lock, stock, and barrel. And the proof of that is, they're putting forward a proposed constitutional amendment to be on the ballot this November to require quarterly payments into the pension system that will necessitate, in order to make them, and there will be no exception because they will be constitutional if this passes, at least a $3 billion tax increase on the people of New Jersey. $3 billion. A $3 billion tax increase on 8.1 million people to pay for the outsized, outrageous benefits of 800,000 people. Understand what a $3 billion, I want to quantify it for you so you know how you get an additional $3 billion at the level of taxation we're already at, because it's not easy. There's only two ways. You know there's only three real taxes that create revenue for the state government: the income tax, the sales tax, and the corporate business tax. Now, the corporate business tax in total now only generates about $2 billion and $34 billion in revenue. So you couldn't raise the corporate business tax enough to get $3 billion. So some of you in the room can breathe a sigh of relief. But not if you live here. Because if you live here, the other two taxes are the ones they're going to come get. Here's what they'll need to do to raise $3 billion. The current sales tax is 7%. To get $3 billion, you must raise it to 10%. Imagine a 10% sales tax on the people of New Jersey and what that would do to our businesses across the state and to the people who have to buy things here. Or you can have this combination of income tax increases. The millionaire's tax surcharge that they've been just pining to get for the last 6 years, in which I've vetoed 5 times. That only raises, on its best day, about $500 million. So you need another $2.5 billion to get to the magic number. What that will mean is for every person who pays income tax in this state, every person, not just the wealthy, every person, an additional 29% increase in income tax. That's the only way you get to these numbers. And that's what they're proposing when they say they want this amendment to require pension payments quarterly. And by the way, quarterly, we'll have to borrow money in order to make those payments quarterly because of the way the cash flow works. You know, we get the overwhelming majority of our cash in April of each year. So from a cash flow perspective, we'll have to go out into the short-term market, the most expensive market for borrowing, and borrow short-term to put money in quarterly. Why? Because that's what the teachers union wants. And when you're a Democrat in New Jersey, what the teachers union wants, the teachers union gets. $3 billion in tax increases. Let's say the Democrats say, no, we have no intention of doing that. All right? Then suspend all of your historical knowledge and belief and say the Democrats will actually cut spending. Suspend everything you know. Let me make you understand how hard it is after what we've done in the last 6.5 years to cut an additional $3 billion in spending. I'm sure we have some representatives of the hospital and healthcare industry in this audience. The entirety of charity care that we give in this state is about $800 million. You'd have to eliminate all of it. I see we have some local elected officials in the audience. Like your municipal aid, you need it to try to make sure that property taxes stay within your 2% cap. Well, if we eliminated all municipal aid, that's $1.6 billion. So we're at 2.4. We're getting there, except you're going to have scores of hospitals close and either massive layoffs at the municipal level and or massive property tax increases at the municipal level. And you're still $600 million short. You're going to cut school aid? What's that going to do to property taxes in each individual town? And the teacher union won't know what to do. You're going to cut school aid in order to pay our pensions? My guess is the guy driving the Mercedes in the palace across the street from the State House, who's making $400,000 a year to be the head of the teachers union, he don't really care whether your property taxes go up because school aid gets cut. So those are the big pots of money in the state budget. The rest of it is $25 million here and $25 million there. And by the time you cobble all that together, you'll also be taking money away from programs that I'm sure lots of people in this audience want to see continue. They're not going to cut spending, everybody. You know it, and I know it. They're coming for your wallet. And me and the Republicans in the legislature have been the only people able to stop them. by my veto pen and the Republicans in the legislature refusing to override those vetoes. But there's 18 months left, everybody, and we're going to elect a new governor. And there's a lesson for my side and for the other side in the history. If the history is a guide, after 8 years of one party, the state, because of its demographics and the pendulum, tend to want to swing back to the other side. And so if we don't want it to go back that way, we're going to have to make a pretty compelling argument to stop it. So we better start making the argument. We can't wait for the last 4 months after the Republican primary in June of 17 to make the argument. We better start making the argument now so that people pay attention. But here's the lesson for the other side as well. You haven't had a 2-term governor in one of the most democratic states in the country since Brendan Byrne. He's 93 years old. It's been a while. Why is it that in one of the bluest states in the country that hasn't gone for a Republican for president since 1988, that the Democrats can't get out of their own way enough to elect and re-elect a governor? It's because their policies stink. You remember, Jim McGreevey ran for office saying he was going to cut taxes for the middle class and raise them. John Corzine said he was going to cut taxes for the middle class, raised them. Jim Flores said he was going to cut taxes for the middle class, raised them. People are at times naive, but they're not stupid. And so we've got to knock them out of the naive portion to make sure we don't go down this road again. And it's got to start this November. Because if this ballot question gets on the ballot, it's not there yet, both the Assembly and the Senate have to vote by majorities between now and the middle of July to put it on the ballot. But if it winds up on the ballot, it must be defeated. And everybody in this room who has a business, a home, a future in New Jersey needs to consider contributing in every way they can to the defeat of that constitutional amendment. Because if you don't spend some money now to defeat it, you will be spending a lot more money later to pay for the results of your inaction. Democrats in New Jersey tax and spend. That's what they do. And think about this. This is how effective we've been on spending. We spend, in the budget that I have proposed for fiscal year 17, we spend $2 billion less in discretionary spending. And discretionary spending, I mean all spending other than pension, health care, and debt service. We spend $2 billion less today than John Corzine spent in fiscal year 08, 9 years ago. That's not like projected spending, projected growth, lower growth. No, less actual dollars. For those of you who run a budget in your office, think about this. When I became governor, the budget I inherited had 13% in non-recurring revenue. 13% in one-shot revenues that you knew were not coming back the next year. The definition of a structural deficit. In the budget we just proposed, you know what the percentage is of non-recurring one-shot revenue? 0.7%. That's fiscal responsibility. And they are about to ask the people of New Jersey to try to trick the people of New Jersey into blowing a hole in all those accomplishments. And when it comes time to pay for it, the people in this room and lots of other people who you represent are going to be the ones who pay. So we're going to launch a campaign against this amendment, and we're going to be aggressive about it. But we can only be as aggressive as we have the money to do it. And believe me, the teachers union has said that they are prepared to spend $30 million to make sure this amendment is passed. Why? Because it's worth $5 billion to them. And they get the fact that spending $30 million to get $5 billion is a pretty good deal. The business community in this state has to wake up to that too. Spending money now to defeat this now saves you a $3 billion tax increase. So, fight's on, everybody. And by the way, you can't be nonpartisan on this one, okay? It's not a nonpartisan fight. It's a partisan fight. You gotta pick sides. But by the way, we picked sides by siding with you in 2009 and giving you $2.3 billion in tax reductions based upon the changes to the tax code that you asked us for. We brought solvency back to the unemployment insurance fund. So another $200 million in April and another $200 million in July have been reduced in your unemployment taxes. We pick sides. I don't want to hear from the business groups in the state, we don't pick sides. The Democrats pick sides every time they pick your pocket. They're not worried about not hurting your feelings. Somehow we got leaders of the business community in this state who are worried about hurting feelings of Democrats. And then they'll have their pockets willingly picked, and they call that leadership. I call it cowardice. They're outspoken about raising taxes. They're meek about fighting those who want to steal from our citizens. You all got to decide. It's up to you. In case you haven't noticed, I'm ready for a fight. I got 18 months left. I'm not going to the retirement village, everybody. I didn't break my neck for the last 6.5 years, and every one of those vetoes was a fight. Every one of those tax reductions was a fight. Every one of them. And we fought for it, and we won. Let's not willingly give it away. And that's where we're at. And I think if we make the people of New Jersey understand in the next 18 months that a vote for a Democrat in the legislature or the governorship is a vote for higher taxes, more spending, bigger government. And don't believe me, just look at the history. Don't tell me that any one of these folks who are saying they're going to run for governor on the Democrat side are going to be different. Phil Murphy, who says he's running for governor, just what we need, another multi-millionaire Goldman Sachs executive, because that worked so well the first time. He wrote a report back in 2004 for Governor Cody about all the changes that needed to be made to the pension system. And apparently, old Phil, all his money and his time in Germany has given as an ambassador, wonder how he got that in the Obama administration, has given him amnesia. Because now he says he'd make no changes to the pension system. He wrote a report endorsing all the things that I've been advocating for. But once you become a Democrat candidate for governor, you must get amnesia. And you must sign up with blinded loyalty to the teachers union. Because they scare people. Well, guess what? They spent $25 million against me in non-election years since 2010. And you know what the biggest aggravation for that group is? I'm still here. I'm still standing. And I am still beating them senseless. Because it's what needs to be done for the people of this state. So pick sides, everybody. You want to pick the other side? Pick the other side. That's fine. If that's where you are philosophically, that's fine. Go out, run for office, and tell people, I'm for raising your taxes, I'm for raising spending, I'm for increasing public employment, and I'm for taking more of your money, because I know how to spend it better than you do. Run on that platform. Can't wait. Can't wait to see how you do. New Jersey has voted on that time and time again. It's only when Democrats disguise their true intentions that they get elected, and then they come in and they do the opposite, and that's why they get kicked out every time since the 80s. Florio, McGreevy, Corzine, all one-termers. Time to pick a fight, everybody. And remember something, we're not the ones who propose this amendment, they are. They're picking the fight. It's time for us to have the fight. So, the talking points are not about the threat. I'll do the talking points after I leave office. Now, we got work to do. And I came here this morning because this group has to be part of the fight to win this. Because if you're not, I guarantee you, in 2018, 19, 20, you will be complaining to Senator Panaccio and Senator Bucco. Senator O'Toole will be retired, but I'm sure he will still be happy to take your calls. Assemblyman Bucco, you'll be calling them and saying, what's happening down there? What the hell's going on? And I'm going to tell my friends in the legislature who've been fighting this fight with me for the last 6.5 years, tell you if you're unwilling to fight now, you're getting what you deserve. Don't look for them to fix it then, because you wouldn't have empowered them to fix it. You need to empower them to fix it. Time to do it. Time to do it. One last thing, I'll take your questions on the proposed TTF solution. They want to double municipal aid from $200 million to $400 million. And increase the TTF from $1.6 billion to $2 billion a year. And 50% of that increase will be give-backs to municipalities for them to pave their roads. When did we get in the business of spending 20% of state money on paving municipal roads? Yet I read all the editorials that say, oh, there's a crisis on state roads and a crisis on state bridges. Even though, by the way, we've been spending $1.6 billion a year every year that I've been governor repairing those things. There's a crisis all of a sudden. Okay? If there's a crisis, what are you doing doubling the amount of money going to municipalities? When they do that, let me tell you something. You know what that is? It is a payoff to protect their political backsides. Pay off the local mayors, pay off the local council, so they'll endorse the local assemblyman and senator. And don't let them fool you that it's property tax relief. Please. They'll just pave more. You know what's going on here. They want to raise it to $2 billion, have spend more on mass transit for the state, have them spend more on our state roads and our state bridges. But this is a typical Democrat move, double the amount of money in municipalities. And they have no clue in that plan what they do with that money. Just sounds good, double it. Excellent, good, and you'll pay. Look at the fine print, everybody. The fine print's important. Because all of that money, every dollar is yours. It's yours. Not mine, not ours, it's yours. And that's been the attitude of this government for the last 6.5 years. That every day I am the steward of your money. When I vetoed every supplemental spending bill since I've been governor, every one, it's because I say, you want it, put it in the budget in June. Not during the year. That's fiscal irresponsibility. You don't do it in your business, we shouldn't do it with your money. All those principles will go out the door in January of 2018 if we make some bad choices in the next 18 months. So it's time to fight the fight, everybody. And I am up for it. I am ready. Hell, man, I'm not running for anything. Let's go. Now it's time to fight this thing. You elected me for 8 years. I'm going to try to give you every penny of your money's worth. And I will keep them amused, believe me. Adult supervision is back in the State House, everybody. And I need your help to do it. So I'm going to end there and leave the rest of the time that we have this morning for your questions. So I know